What is going on, guys? Op here, and I'm here to talk about Tekken 7, the location test that took place a couple of days ago. I'm just getting on the bandwagon because I had stuff to do, but let's get right to it. The first thing you notice about this game is that there's sparks flying everywhere. Now, Harada said that there wouldn't be any invincible maneuvers where there's special effects and stuff going along, not directly related, but now we have sparks flying around instead of just the little, cloud of red that usually happens when you hit a character in, say, Tekken 6 or Tekken Tag Tournament 2 or basically any other Tekken game. But now we have sparks flying, because when you hit someone's face, it basically lights up like an anime character when they're crying. Yeah, good job, Harada. But yeah, it's kind of weird. It looks pretty. It looks pretty as hell, but I think maybe, after a little while it might get a little stale, a little boring. It might even be a little distracting. So can we turn that off? I hope so, because it could make or break the game, is what I'm saying. I think it's important to note that, you probably don't want too much happening on the screen at once. So you might want to be able to toggle how bright it is or how long the sparks are, or just turn it off completely. I think that would be fair. I'm also noticing there's a bit of jiggle physics on Katarina there. They're using Unreal Engine 4, so maybe they have the technology to do this now. And the character's a bit sexual, so, maybe they actually did want to do that. So, thumbs up to you, Harada, for doing that. The next thing I want to talk about is bounds are gone, ? I do not think so. I think we indirectly have bounds. You're not going to just bound someone by doing a bound maneuver that you would normally find in Tekken 6 or Tekken Tag Tournament 2, but more so when you drop someone through the floor. I'm noticing that when you drop someone through the floor, there's a fairly high bounce that happens right after that, and you can just continue your assault, maybe bring them to the wall, and that can make your combo go probably over 100 damage, which can be interesting. I mean, I'm noticing the characters that are being used are used specifically to do maneuvers that you would only use in, say, Tekken Revolution, and I think that's pretty cool. Tekken's kind of getting back to its roots in that, right? But you won't see a guy just sliding on his ass for a second for you to just continue your assault. And especially because there's no tag assault, because this is a one-player game, you're going to have to get used to just using one character for all of your damage. So in that light, I think it's the right thing to do. I am going to miss bounds, but what happens when we get a new Tekken game? We just get used to it because we love it. About the new character Claudio, I think he has a likeness to Maxi in Soul Calibur. In the Soul Calibur series, I think he looks a lot like Maxi, and that's not too weird because, Tekken and Soul Calibur are owned by the same people, so I think that character is kind of interesting in that light. He's got the little hair thing going on. But JZ45100, he pointed out to me that the style of fighting that he uses and his body shape and his attitude generally kind of reminds him of a mixture between Lars and Miguel. And I was like, yeah, I agree with that, because he is fairly tall. He has a lot of kind of fast pokes, kind of weird maneuvers, and then just really, really fast maneuverability, kind of like Lars. So I think that is the right thing to kind of assume there, but it's odd and it's interesting. He has this attack where he has this energy ball in his hand, and I'm just wondering, why is it staying there? I thought he did a key charge, but no, it's something that's unique to Claudio. So what does it do? Like, does it give him extra damage? Does he use it as a projectile? Is he charging up some attack for later, like a freaking solar beam from Pokemon? I don't know. I haven't really studied it that well because I've only seen one person use it in one of these clips. But I think it might be something that is unique to him that only he can use, a type of attack that is. And it might be probably not overpowered because it is only on one hand, but we have no idea how it is. Maybe it's extra damage probably whenever you get hit with that limb, so that might be interesting. Also, I noticed Law has a new move. He does this entire turn around and then does this weird ass Bruce Lee maneuver, and he's based off of Bruce Lee, so I think that's pretty cool. And that's all I got to say about that. Also, when they're using Unreal Engine 4, I noticed that the debris from a character falling down, it stays wherever it is dropped. And that's pretty good, I think, because in all the other Tekken games, like whenever a character makes a crater, you know, it stays there for a while, and then, you know, through the fight, you probably don't notice that it just disappears. But I would notice because I pay attention to detail like that. But I would say that Tekken Tag Tournament 2 and Tekken 6 probably didn't have as many assets on the disc because they actually had to take out a lot of the special effects that they had in Tekken Tag Tournament 2, so when you play online, it wouldn't lag the game, because not only were you having to deal with lag from normal gameplay with players and their connections, but the actual, like, not animatronics, because this is a video game, the actual stuff that was going on in the background, like the magic show, or the fish that were on that one boat level, or just general things that are in the background that would take up so much memory. It would just lag the game because there's so much going on and so many factors. So with Unreal Engine 4 in there, they can actually do stuff like keep the debris where the character fell, and it, you know, brings more realness to the game. You know, it creates a new type of atmosphere. So what else can they do? Because I'm noticing using Unreal Engine 4, there's more space to fight. And I'm wondering just how much space. For example, I mean, the maps just look a little bit larger if they have walls. I mean, obviously they're pretty large if they're infinite stages, but if you have walls, you still have more space to move around, which is kind of nice because it's almost like having an infinite stage, but eventually you do come to a wall, so I think that's fairly nice. But I noticed they dropped through a floor twice. That's quite weird, because how large is the stage? How many times can you actually fall through? I've only seen them go through the floor twice. But how large is the stage? Could you go off in another direction? For example, you could go straight down through the floor, or maybe you could perhaps do a balcony break. And if you do a balcony break, where are you going to be then? You're not even going to be in a building anymore. Maybe you're going to be like on a mountain somewhere. Kind of reminds me of Tekken 4, you know. I wasn't too much of a fan of Tekken 4 as I was of Tekken 3, but I love the fact that you could have stairs, you could have hills, and you could have like street level and just get different heights on everything. It would change the way the game was played. It changed the hitboxes, and it could change combos based on, you know, a character being lower or higher. And I probably won't get my wish, but how big are the stages? Could you potentially go like all around so much space just because you're using Unreal Engine 4? I mean, look what Unreal Engine 4 does with other games like shooters and whatnot. So what could it do with a fighting game where the space is already so small? All you really have to do is expand that space. And within Tekken, you know, where you can go through the floor, I don't know, maybe you could go through the ceiling. That's kind of too much like Mortal Kombat, I think. But you know, maybe they can do some other kind of break we haven't seen before. You know, we've had wall breaks, balcony breaks, floor breaks. Could you do a ceiling break? Could you, you know, uppercut the crap out of somebody and put them through the ceiling? Or could you knock them so far off of a building they actually go down to the ground? Maybe the tower goes down in the background, and then you just start fighting on the street, and maybe there's some cars. Probably wishing for too much there, but I don't know. I'm just saying, with Unreal Engine 4, maybe there's a lot more they can do. So I'm hoping we can see a different type of game-changing element that hasn't been done in Tekken previously. Also, on a final note about Invincible Moves, I'm noticing in this one clip here, I'm putting it up on the screen now, Dragunov actually turns white for a second. He has a little bit of an aura there, and he absorbs one attack from a character that hits him. I'm not looking at it right now, so I'm not sure what character it is. I'm gonna say Brian, maybe. But he absorbs a hit, and he just continues his attack. So that's kind of weird. Harada said there weren't going to be invincibles, but perhaps it's not an invincible. Maybe it's something like armor from Soul Calibur 5. The character would turn red if you had the correct button press. I didn't know how it worked on command because I would basically button mash in that game. Sorry guys, I am a button masher in some games. I noticed Dragunov absorbs this hit and he just keeps on going. So I'm wondering, because I can't actually see, because they go into new challenger mode right after that, but he takes a whole hit and he just continues his move. So maybe it only takes 1 or 2 hits. I think 2 hits might be too much, but maybe just 1, and then if they fail to hit him a second time, it'll just continue to go. I think that's a new interesting thing that can happen in this game, so we'll see where that goes. And on the note of Katarina, I think they got our name mixed up just because some Asian guy said it, and they were like, so what's the new character's name? Katarina! And they were like, well, okay, well, the guy's Asian, so maybe he just meant to say Catalina because they get the R's and L's messed up, so we were calling her Catalina for the longest time, but no, they actually meant Katarina, because that's how you spell it, with a K and an R in there, not with an L and a C. I noticed she uses the same button presses over and over, like Harada said that he would do with that character, because he wants more people that are getting into the game just now to feel comfortable with a character that would normally cater to button mashing. You know, when you play a fighting game, you imagine yourself pressing the same buttons over and over again, and as we know as veteran Tekken players, that most characters will not allow you to press the same button over and over again in order to do moves that you should be doing in the proper sense. So he made it so that this character can do 1 1 1 1, 2 2 2 2, 3 3 3 3, 4 4 4 4, like I don't even know how many times, but you can see in some of this footage that this character is just using the same limb for the same attack over and over and over. So I think that's okay. I think that's cool. I think in the long run, when those new players get tired of Tekken, we're going to be left with it ourselves, you know, us veteran people, and we're just going to have to deal with this character. I think it might be fairly easy because, you know, you're going to notice, okay, well, it's just the same button over and over again, so now I can counter it. Whatever. And finally, we come to the granddaddy of them all, Rage Arts, or in other words, which you would say in other games, a super move. What they call it in Street Fighter, and Soul Calibur, I believe it's called a critical edge, but in this game, you know, it's finally here. You know, we were always kind of wondering, you know, how would a super move or a meter even work in Tekken? You know, it's gone so long without even needing it, because so far we've only used unblockable moves, not invincible moves, but mostly unblockable moves. But the reason we don't use them very often is because they're so unreliable, but sometimes you can do them and they're a bit of a surprise for your opponent. I think that's, you know, when super moves are used correctly, but now we have straight up moves that take control of the camera, happen the exact same way every time. It will always hit because now you're in an animation. I'm not really sure how I feel about that. I think it's cool looking. I think it's new, which it is, but you know, now we're kind of doomed to doing the same thing every game. You know, now you're pretty much guaranteed to use it because it takes like half of your freaking meter. You know, so if you're dying, you pretty much have a guaranteed way to do some damage, which I guess is another way to say that Harada's catering to all those new people with the game. And if you're coming over from Street Fighter, it's probably the right move to make, especially going into Tekken Cross Street Fighter if we ever get there, Harada. So it's new. I think it's not Tekken the way it should be, but I think it is interesting and it might be fun to play around with. But I think it's going to become too much like what tag assaults were in Tekken Tag Tournament 2, whereas instead of actually using your skill to actually fight, it was like, well, I'm allowed to tag assault, so then I will. Well, now it's going to be, okay, I'm dying, so then I'll rage. You know, it is what it is. It is what it is, and it's going to do what it will do. I'm not 100% sure that I like it, but I know they look pretty, and people are gonna say, wow, that's so awesome, but come on, guys, it's alright. Yeah, it's alright. That's all I got to say.
This ends here.